The Open Championship is here, but Ben Raza is not. But don't worry, everybody. It's not me handing out the golf picks. Nobody wants that. We called in the big guns.
What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stokastic here alongside Josh Engleman for the PGA Perfect Lineup. Open Championship Edition. I've got 3 players I'm going to be deploying in single entry. 1 expensive golfer, 1 mid-range target, and a cheapie. And we're going to see if we can't hit the nuts for you on DraftKings this week. First order of business, hit that like button and subscribe button so you know whenever content is going live over here. And secondly, let us know in the comment section below who you think is going to win the Open Championship, and we'll be giving away a free week of The Sims to one of you who picks correctly. And if there's a tie, Josh will spin that fancy little wheel on the next video to select a winner. Cool? Cool. Anywho, let's kick things off in style with Tommy Fleetwood. And I know what you're thinking. Eric, Ben Raza is not on the video this week. You don't have to pick Fleetwood, but here's the thing. 1, he's my boss, and 2, I think it's the right thing to do. Fleetwood's coming in with more than a pulse. A missed cut at the US Open aside, he's still put up 3 top 4 finishes in his past 7 events. He hasn't lost strokes with the approach in 9 straight events. And biggie for me with Fleetwood, the putter has shown massive spike potential in recent tournaments to pair with his always elite ball striking. Of course, these greens are going to be radically slower than what's dealt with on the stateside things, but that hasn't bothered him in previous iterations of this championship, with 3 top 10 finishes in his past 5 Open Championships. And I'd argue this is the venue where he finished solo second in 2019, so I guess it kind of speaks to my point. I think it sets up better than any other course in the R&A's rotation due to the smaller greens and demands on second shot precision. In fact, the only 2 things that remotely concern me with Fleetwood this week: 1, the tee time draw. He's late PM on Thursday, where the wind looks most prevalent until the weekend, and 2, the high-profile pairing with local boy and friend Rory McIlroy for the first 2 rounds. But at 9,500 on DraftKings, Fleetwood gives Josh some nice wiggle room to choose his favorite up to the 10K range if so desired, or find another 9K pairing such as X or a Burr before we dip a little further down in salary.
Majors mean promos, and today we are doing a promo for you guys. 50% off any core or max monthly package at stokastic.com. If you want to see the projections, the ownership, the sim tools, all you have to use is the promo code BUNKER. There is a link in the description of this video. Click that, head on over to Stokastic, and get yourself 50% off any core or max monthly package on the PGA side to celebrate the Open Championship.
Next up for me, number 2, Adam Scott. I'm going to go to the cheaper end of the mid-range, firing up him at just under 10% ownership. And we're going to see some chalk in the 7K range this week on DraftKings. Matt Fitzpatrick, Sepp Straka, Russell Henley, my boy Sam Burns, all projecting for giga ownership in the range. Shout out Jesse. And we can certainly mix and match them in large field and not run into too many problems. But when building out the perfect lineup, I think Scott has actual win equity in this spot that isn't being fully captured by the field. First off, he's played in every rendition of the Open Championship since 03, so his experience with links golf, it's beyond there. Also, while the strong tee to green game isn't as necessary at Royal Portrush, it's the irons that have gained 5 and 4.4 strokes in the last 2 events with Shot Tracker that have really got me buying in, because I expect the putting it around the green game to improve on the slower green surfaces. And lastly, correlation. He tees off a little bit later on Thursday as well, so if this lineup is indeed going to be perfect, pairing him and Fleetwood and my cheapie together in this PM wave on Thursday and hoping the weather isn't too crazy shouldn't be too much of a problem. All right, y'all, we got one more player to get to. If you wouldn't mind, hit that like button for us one more time. Keep this content rolling. Absolutely love being able to fill in for Ben Raza here on the PGA Perfect lineup. So just that small little step goes a long way for us as we divulge, or as I divulge, that is, my cheapie, sub 7K. I'm going to Daniel Berger at 6,600. He is our lowest owned piece here by a ways at just under 5%, but hear me out. He is 7th in strokes gained approach amongst this field in his last 24 rounds on the PGA Tour. And despite poor play of late, that's been largely in part to one portion of his game: chipping. And around the green play can flip on a second on links tracks, especially if putter can be made a more appealing option. Plus, it might surprise you to know he's actually had 2 top 3 finishes in extremely strong fields in 2025. The Waste Management back in February, which there's not a ton of comparisons to Royal Portrush to draw there, but the RBC Heritage does, with the small Pete Dye green complexes out in Hilton Head and the demands on iron play that exist there. There's a lot of comps between that and Royal Portrush and some of the other Florida tracks that he's dominated that also showed up at the top of the 2019 leaderboard. So this is not just an effort on my behalf to get different. I truly think Berger has upside on a golf course that should play to his iron strength. Let's just hope there's not a lot of chipping involved.
So now the only thing we have left to do is build out this lineup in the single lineup simulator. And thanks to Eric, he gave us a lot of extra money to play with to fill this lineup out. We loaded in Fleetwood, Scott, and Berger. And I'm going to the almost tippy top, and I want to add in Rory McIlroy as the top golfer for this lineup. That leaves us 2 spots, and this will automatically get filled out by clicking complete this lineup. It'll give us the 2 optimal plays for everything we have left. And it looks like it's going to fill us out with Russell Henley and Corey Connor. So 7,900 and 7,200. That spends all of our salary cap, and it leaves us with one thing left to do. We click run lineup simulation to figure out, does this lineup actually grade out well? And the answer is just barely yes. 10% sim ROI, a 0.2% chance to win, a 1.1% chance of being in the top 10% of lineups, and a 22% cash rate. It's going to take some work. Maybe you don't like this. Maybe you think this is a terrible spot for Rory and you would rather go a different direction. The single lineup simulator makes it very easy. Add guys in, subtract guys out, find the optimal lineup, run that simulation, and maybe you will be able to build the perfect lineup.